we just released the legendary ships video for the Yamato, and I mean, I kind of was familiar with it and just started talking to people on a Reddit thread, and all these community members are offering up all of this different historical context and perspective to me, and it's like I'm so grateful and lucky to be in that role where I get to learn about stuff from a genuinely passionate community that's genuinely like really, really interesting and fascinating stuff. So yeah, I mean, I could not ask to be in a better position.
Yeah, so as someone that posts a lot on the Reddit forum, I will say it's probably one of the less, for lack of a better word, non-cancerous forums on Reddit.
Hmm.
So it is a great community, and coming from first-person shooter games, and kind of being burnt out on those, I've really enjoyed the transition to Warships, and for the most part, I find the community is more than willing to help, and just work for the benefit of everyone, as opposed to just constantly bitching and moaning. So,
and I think that that's what's great about Warships, and that's something that over the last couple of months I've really fallen in love with, is that it's almost like an inside joke when you start playing the game, when you kind of meet other people that play and understand the game. Because for me, coming from, I'm a fan of World War II stuff. I'm a fan of World War II history, a lot of that stuff. I'd never played a game like that. Assassin's Creed Black Flag would be like the closest thing to this game. And after I picked it up and played it for a couple of hours, it was something so unique, but so satisfying at the same time, that it's like one of those things that I feel like everyone that's in the community now that's a current player and has been a beta tester or a super tester, stuff like that, they get it. They understand how much vertical this game has and how much growth this game has and how much potential in the future. And looking at where it already is now, it's really, really exciting.
That's awesome. I mean, yeah, you hit the nail on the head. Like when we played the invite only alpha, it just something grabs you, and it's just simple enough to play right away. But
yep.
Yeah, I'll admit, I think through Operation Supply Drop, who we support, and I know you all support as well. Chris just happened to get some of these beta codes, and he's like, "Hey, anyone want to try it?" And I wasn't really familiar with World of Tanks or the other Wargaming.net games, but being a fan like you are of World War II in general, and especially World War II ships, I'm like, yeah, I'll give it a try. And I'd been playing Battlefield 4 Hardline at that time, which I enjoyed, but I started playing the game and I just got engrossed in it because, the North Carolina, I've been on that ship. I mean, I can relate to it, and something just sucked me in. The players sucked me in, and I found myself, wanting to get better, wanting to do better. And then once I learned, I found myself, kind of wanting to give back to the community too, which is why I started my own, Help an Ensign series, just to kind of pass that knowledge on. So it's a great community, it's a great game, and I think that's definitely one of its strong points. So kudos to that.
I was having a conversation with one of our producers at the airport today, and I think the conclusion that I've come to for playing it for the last couple of months is really that it gives you a different type of satisfaction than a first-person shooter game will give you, and it allows you to kind of really enjoy the moments that you have in the game while you're still playing the game because of how the pacing is. You play a Call of Duty game or you play Battlefield, you really can't sit back and go, oh my God, I just went 32 and 3, until the game is over. You kind of have to be in that zone the whole time, but it's so fun to hit somebody with torpedoes and take out their ship, and then you have this 10 seconds where you're like, all right, what am I going to do next? It's almost kind of like that Just Cause-esque type of playground game where you're like, I just did some really cool thing, and now I got 20 seconds before I can think about what is my next move, what's my next strategy. If you're for me, if you're playing as the Arkansas, man, you put that thing in one direction, go grab coffee, watch TV, come back.
What does the Arkansas do? The Arkansas does what, about five knots a week or something like that?
Oh God, seriously, yeah, no, it tops out at 20, and it is rough. But again, I think that's part of the fun thing about it is, it really allows you to kind of morph your strategy as you go and take a little bit more, almost like a chess match, time in how you think about doing things. There are so many different components to the game that are really, really appealing. And I think, for me, and like you guys were saying, like naval World War II stuff was not something that I was really into at all. I was into all the ground stuff, like all European theater stuff. Like that's where I was at. And coming and playing this game is just like it's a whole new world that is so fascinating. And again, the game is one of those things where it's like even if you're not a fan or not a fan of World War II or battleships or any of that kind of stuff, the game itself and how it's structured is ridiculously fun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, see, for me, I started. I've always liked World War II, and I want to say probably back in college. Does anyone remember the Dogfight series on History Channel?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I watched one of the episodes. It broke from the tradition of airplanes, and it was the death of the Japanese Navy, and it was the battle off Samar. So I just found myself watching that. I'm like, holy crap! These destroyers went up against these, the Yamato, which displaced the entire, weight of Taffy 3, and I just got hooked on that. I wanted to know more. Yeah. Then I read James Hornfisher's book, Last Stand of the Tin Can Sailors, which turned out to be probably one of my favorite books of all time. And ever since that, I just love World War II Navy stuff. It's really one of the cooler aspects of World War II. So, and I think, I always see that book tossed around by the World of Warships community. So there's definitely some love there, and there's a lot of history buffs out there. And the cool thing about the game is it's approachable for people that might not necessarily be, your average gamer. They can jump in, and after time, I think, they stand just as good a chance as your most hardened first-person shooter player.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, and that's the thing that blew me away about wargaming as well is they have such an appreciation for the history and such a respect for that history. That was something that was really, really cool to me. And I'm not the type of person that looks at video games in the lens of, oh my God, this game is so violent, they must be, intentionally pro-violence, or, even a shoot just because somebody, like, I don't subscribe to that school of thought. But at the same time, it's also very refreshing to come into a company where that respect and appreciation for the historical aspects of things and for the lives that were lost in these situations.
Yeah.
It's fascinating to really see how much wargaming appreciates and is constantly front of mind with that kind of stuff. But yeah, man, I mean, coming from my perspective, I'm in my mid-20s right now, and it's one of those things where it's like World War II, I feel like, and the history behind it, it is something that would be so fascinating to a general audience or to, our generation, but it just needs to be talked about in the right way. It needs to be approached in the right way, because, like, had I not played Warships, I would not have started to, like, dig into the lore and the history behind all these battleships. And had I not had a supportive community to kind of translate it for me in a way that I could understand, that kind of stuff is really exciting to me. And I think that, walking away from taking a step back from, like, obviously in the community, we want to grow the games community and we want to make sure it's the best community in games and strive for that. But secondarily, I think one of the cool things to walk away from with this game when it's all said and done is to be able to say, like, we informed people on the historical value of this stuff, and no matter what, we made sure that it was respected and learned and shared and passed on through history. So as you can tell, that's something that I'm very, very passionate about as well, because yeah, I mean, the average World War II is definitely something that there needs to be a greater historical education on.
Yeah, who would have known that the Pensacola's were total badasses in World War II, and that's why you're going to buff them here in the near future, right? Hint, hint.
Oh, is that the segue into the next question?
Yeah.
Oh God.
Yeah, that's the segue.
I thought we just had a moment here, and
dude, we connected at an air level, but that ship is flown, so to speak. Now
we're crossing into just 100 questions about buffs and nerfs.
Yeah, exactly. Actually, no. The first question I wanted to ask is about the patch. I think that kind of took everyone by surprise. What happened there?
Yeah, you want to elaborate a little bit more on that one?
Well, everyone was expecting it today. Half the community was upset that their Minakaze was going to lose its torpedoes. Half the community was rejoicing, and then all of a sudden, bugs, sorry, it's not coming out right now.
So that's something that I'm not 100% sure I can really reveal a ton of information on.
Yeah,
I
that's
can
all right.
say that it was a few small things. I mean, I think, you look at like, and for me, I can't look at every other developer that's out there and look at, what their dev cycle is and how that kind of
Yeah.
stuff looks. And my only frame and viewpoint is what I see as a gamer and the stuff I consume in my own life and what goes on at Wargaming. And I think, when you look at something like, Arkham City, for instance, or not Arkham City, Arkham Knight, excuse me, and how that PC launch went, I think it's safe to say in that scenario that, if WB had that one back, they would want that one back. And in the same way, I think we can never be too careful with our releases. And if it takes an extra couple of days, and in this scenario, I would wager to say ballpark that's what it sounds like without giving away too much information. We want to make sure that we're delivering the best quality, and we want.
Uh-oh. Sean, Houston, we've had a problem. Houston, he wants to come back. I hear his voice briefly. You can do it, Sean. Come on. We've actually got two Seans on here, by the way. I'm also Sean, spelled the exact same way. So it's kind of cool running into another Sean.
He's also robots. It's kind of weird.
Yeah, he's also robots. So while we're waiting for him to get back, personally, I kind of agree with what they're doing. It's so refreshing to see a company not rush something out, like a patch even, and to actually say that they care about the product that comes out. So,
well, they got time.
Yeah, I've got no problems with a patch being delayed. Yeah, I think that's a good thing. Sean will be back here any second. I tell you what.
Have you ever seen pictures of the Wargaming booth at PAX and events?
No, I haven't. I have
it's
not.
Unreal. It must be the biggest booth there.
Really?
It is absolutely huge. Bigger than EA, bigger than Microsoft. There's a couple that kind of compare, but it is massive and always packed. The huge main stage, tons and tons of PCs in rows. It's just crazy. It's super impressive. I went looking for Brian.
Oh my gosh! Sorry about that. All right, I dropped out.
No, we filled the gap for you.
Can
we
you
said,
hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah.
Can you hear us?
Uh-oh.
Can you hear us?
Can anybody hear me?
Yeah,
Yes.
we can hear you.
Can anybody hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Can you hear us now?
Anybody hear
Yeah.
me? Hello?
Uh-oh. Hello. Here, let me get him by text real quick.
Yeah.
But
man, that booth is impressive. Like I went looking for Brian Meathead there at PAX.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, can you hear us? No. We continue to hear you.
And it took me
What the
like
heck? I can't hear
15, 20
anybody.
minutes.
Okay, hang on 1 second. I'm sorry. I'm totally ruining everything right now.
That's all good.
It's no problem.
All right, you were saying about this wonderful, phenomenal PAX layout?
Yeah, it's great. I actually I was in line to play World of Warships. It would have been PAX East this year in Boston, and the lines were just way too big, way too busy. But, you want to spend like your limited time, whether it's an hour at whatever, and it was just way too packed. So it's pretty crazy. But it's a super nice booth.
While we're waiting, do we want to give something away, or I don't even know what we're giving away right now, but we can at least start the raffle so we can get this going.
Yeah, that would be an excellent idea.
Do we have someone running that for it? Wow, this is.
I can certainly do that.
I'm looking at the podcast right now on screen, and like it's all split and weird looking. I see the top part of my head, the lower part of your body, and yeah, restart. We might need to just all back out and get back in. That
could be. Crazier things have happened. This is not the first by any chance. Well, let's do a little raffle here. I'm going to open a raffle. Everybody in the chat is entered. You'll see things on the screen. Just follow those instructions, and you're all good. So I'm going to open that now. Better reset the raffle. That would be great. So you can enter in the chat with !raffle, and yeah, you can be entered. And we'll let that go for a while.
Are we going to jump out of here and come back in? Close out?
Yeah.
All right. That's WDA Punisher, by the way, if you can hear him. He's our man behind the scenes. Yeah, this is very, very interesting. Hey, what's up, Punisher? Don't revive him. Don't do it. Yeah. Let him know, and we'll get back to getting your questions fielded to him.
Oh, Moobot's freaking out. Raffle.
Moobot's wigging out. All right.
My head's like over here, and your head's over there.
So we got a couple of... Sean apologized earlier. He left his laptop charger at home, so he couldn't use his computer, which, you know, obviously if he had that, things would be running a little smoother on his side. So he's basically working off of Skype on his phone. So,
yeah.
It's Murphy's Law. It's Murphy's Law. It happens.
It is. Especially at PAX. I've tried to do a podcast from PAX, and it was a disaster. It was the most painful thing. Internet dropping out and everything else. So. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is. And it's so compact. I don't know. It's a nice city, though. Cool. We'll let the raffle go for another couple minutes, and
has his phone just like died completely or something? I just texted him on Twitter.
That's right. We'll keep rolling.
We'll just keep raffling and raffling. So yeah.
There we go.
Hey.
Yeah. Oh my gosh,
hey,
guys.
Can you hear us? All right.
Dropped out. I think it was something with the hotel Wi-Fi, and then it dropped out, and then I hopped back in, and I couldn't hear anybody. And you guys must have just been obnoxiously... I'm the worst community manager ever.
No, you're good.
I don't know why you wanted me on. I didn't think crying was going to start so soon.
Yes.
Now if we can just fix our podcast here. I'm showing blank screens and all kinds of other weird writing.
That's right. We'll get it going. We're just doing a little raffle for a giveaway here, so we'll into that.
Nice. I knew you guys got this, man.
Oh,
we covered for you. We covered for you.
You just like let me vamp it.
There we go. All right, I think things are working back up to speed. So yeah, Patch, you know, we agree with your methodology on that. We're glad you're not going to push something out that's going to crash our hard drives and blow our computers up. So kudos to you all. So moving on, I guess. Chris, what are your questions right now?
Well, I want to know, you know, we talked about all the different, you know, what got you interested in it and the history, and the same thing that just grabbed me with all that World War II history. What's your favorite ship right now in the game?
You know what? Honestly, I have been starting to get more. I started with battleships, right? Because like that's the one initial one to get into that I think is, for beginners of the game, probably the easiest one to play and understand. As I started to progress a little bit more, right now I'm really into the Iwaki. I kind of like slowly easing my way into some of the higher tiers that are in there. But yeah, I mean, I love torpedoes. I love having something that has high speed. Being able to, they're pretty much the most satisfying thing in the game for me that I've experienced thus far is being able to kind of sneak attack torpedo somebody and just catch somebody at the right angle, right when you're coming around an island and they don't see you. That's probably one of the most satisfying experiences in all of games that I've experienced so far. So the Iwaki, I know I'm talking all premium ships. That's what they hooked me up with when I first got there. They won't hook me up with the Turpits. So
What?
everyone asks, everyone's
Really?
like, "Yo, where's my Turpits?" I'm
Come
like, "Yo,
on.
where's my Turpits?" Like, come
So wait,
on.
you're an employee and you can't even get a Turpits.
Yeah, to be honest, I think that that's something that I really appreciate about wargaming as well. Is that they, when I first got in, I was like, "Yo, like, where's my
Yeah.
tier 10 ships at? Like, are you gonna unlock everything for me?" And they're like, "No, dude, you gotta play. You gotta play this game." And I'm like, "Okay, I guess I should probably play the game." So I think that that's really another great thing about Warships is that when it comes to production stuff or development stuff, we're going into our testing rooms and we're playing the game where we have all this stuff unlocked.
Mhm.
But I mean, you've got guys that are producers of the game that, in their personal stuff, they haven't fully unlocked all those ships. And I think that that's something that's really cool. And something that kind of, shows that, as much as I love my premium ships, that you can still play the game and progress through everything and have just as much fun. And, the design, as I kind of understand it, is that premium ships, are there to kind of be better than a ship that you would get through unlocking tiers before it's upgraded. But then after it's upgraded, a ship that you have through unlocking tiers is obviously going to be stronger than a premium ship that you might purchase. So I think it's really, really cool, the balance that's set up with that. But no, they don't give me a Turpitz just yet.
So I'm gonna kind of throw a hardball at you here.
Toss it.
Yeah, I know. I hate to do it. And one of the things that we've been seeing in the chat that's come up frequently regarding the premium ships is the price. And a lot of people are saying, how do you justify $40 for an Atlanta or something? Just ships in general. And I think people are wondering about that pricing structure and if that will change eventually, or if that's going to stay where it is. Because, $40, you can pretty much get another game out there when you've got your game already. So what is the benefit of that? And
I can only speak from my perspective in the company and kind of where I sit in the company. Wargaming, obviously, as a global entity, is really, really big and has tons of different offices, and the monetization stuff, comes pretty high up in that food chain. What I can say from my own personal perspective, looking at this kind of stuff, is I've dropped a very healthy amount of money on Hearthstone and on stuff like Contest of Champions. Like Contest of Champions got me huge. But again, it's one of those things where it's like, I put in a lot of time to these games, and I see a lot of enjoyment in these games, and when you break it down to equivalents, and again, this is all coming from just my personal perspective on things. You want to go see Ant-Man in IMAX 3D. You're for two people, you're dropping $60 for a 2-hour experience, and I think that
Yeah.
knowing our community and knowing the commitment to playing the game and enjoying the game. That's something that is definitely of value there, and the value compared to the amount of time that you might be spending on that, I think, is something that is really, really fitting of what that value is. That being said, my role as a community manager is to make the experience as fun as humanly possible and to add as much as I can, whether that's on Reddit or on forums, whether that's competitions, giveaways, in-game stuff, to add as much dimension outside of what our development staff can do. So that is really part of what my goal is in that scenario, which is, again, I think that the value is there for what we're charging on a lot of that stuff, even though I don't have a say or control on any of that stuff. That being said, my role is to continue to add value so that, when you are purchasing those ships, you are getting a lot out of that and a lot of experience out of that.
So what are we giving to these fine ladies and gentlemen that are out here tonight? They're kind of wondering. We told them they won something, but they don't know.
What up? Okay, so I have got 300. No, I don't have 300 of these. I have
$1 million.
packs. I've got 12 packs, and each pack is going to have 3 days of premium time and 300 doubloons. So 12 people, you're going to get a nice little beak wetter type of situation. I don't know how you guys want to hand out those prizes or how you want to award them. But as soon as you have those names, just send them over to me, and we will add that stuff to their account. That's the other thing that's freaking cool about wargaming is like there's no codes to anything. There's no like physical stuff. So like when we do prizing and all that kind of stuff, it really is super simple for us to do that, and that makes my job so much more broad in terms of the things that we can do and create, because it's so easy to fulfill those things. So working at IGN, a little bit different.
So when I go to play after this podcast, I can jump right into the Turpits, right?
What?
Yeah.
Oh, I think the Wi-Fi's dropping out again.
Yeah, you can't hear me, right?
I can't hear you anymore.
No, actually, I came across one last night. They're great looking ships, but I don't know. I'll have to play it to find out here on what day?
Your own podcast to passive aggressively ask for a Turpitz. Is that what's happening right now?
No. I would never do that. But
you would never set up a podcast to ask for free stuff.
What day can we expect the Turpitz though? For us, plebs.
You can expect it in September, and that is pretty much everything I think that is available to talk about. Yeah, I'm trying to search my brain on if there's anything more that I can say about that, but it will definitely be September when it'll be available.
Okay, for sure.
Yes.
Awesome. Well, that at least gives us a month, and I think we kind of suspected that. So what?
September's in a few days.
Yeah, it is actually. September 1st confirmed, right? September 1st confirmed. So, we've got German battleships inbound, which I think a lot of people are excited for. The Bismarck Turpitz, they're iconic ships, granted that they absolutely sucked in battle, aside from sinking the hood. What other ship lines can you talk about right now?
That's pretty much. I mean, we're
tight-lipped on that, huh?
Yeah, what I can say on that front is that there is a lot of. We've got this stuff mapped out for a long time, and I think that when Destiny came on, a lot of the term being thrown around that like. The launch of the game is really just the beginning. It's really just kind of the platforming of the game. And as we start to get closer to what our mysterious launch date that I can't talk about is.
That was another question that you just blew out of the sky.
I answered it.
we talking this year or next year?
Well, okay. I would say that the launch date is soonish. That is the best PR statement that I can make. I would say be on the lookout for an announcement on when that is going to be very, very soon.
Very soon.
Very soon.
This was the announcement of the very, very soon announcement.
Yes, it'll be very soon. We'll be announcing an announcement of the announcement very soon. But yeah, there will be information on that without giving you a specific timetable, even though I do know what the timetable is. There will be information on that very, very soon. But again, just kind of going back to the greater question there, this is something that is going to continue to evolve over a very, very, very long period of time. And just like World of Tanks, World of Tanks didn't have physics when it started. And now you look at World of Tanks, dimensionally, it's a completely different game than it was when it started. And I think that, we have a lot planned out for the near future, the next 6 months of the title, as that stuff, starts to get completed. The next thing that we're really focusing on is like, okay, what is going to be that big game-changing thing for World of Warships, like it happened with tanks, and like what that evolution is going to be. And I think that for me, again, that's something that I'm so happy and grateful and lucky to be in the position that I'm in, to be the liaison between the community and the developers and be able to help decide that and help the community decide that. Because one of the coolest things is going into the subreddits and going into the forums and seeing people be like, oh, my grandfather was on the Bismarck, or when are you guys doing the Bismarck, or when are you guys doing this ship? What I can say is a lot of that stuff, the community's voice is going to help to expand and sort of guide that expansion. Right. That's pretty much the gist of what I can talk about with that just yet.
All right, fair enough. And two things real quick. Paul, in the background, if you could just keep those little giveaways running from this point on, I guess. And yeah, let it roll. Let it roll. Give some free stuff out. And I guess also one of the, for you all out there watching, if you've got some questions, start throwing them up in the chat, because I'm looking over there every now and then, and I see Turpitz coming up a lot, but that's more of a statement than a question. So, you know, we're going to use this time to get your questions out there as well. You know, keep feeding it to us.
Yeah, we had one interesting one. Again, only if you can answer it. If there will be a tier 9 or 10 German battleship line. Solid maybe. Solid maybe.
That's my answer. That is my answer to that. I don't know if you could quote that. I don't think that that's something that's quotable.
It's kind of a constipated
He gave
sound.
A long, high-pitched whine.
Yeah.
Somebody threw that out there.
And then the call dropped.
To reiterate the other point, you know, without specifically saying what's coming and what's not, I can say that, you know, that expansion is going to be constant. You know, the updates and patching of the game is going to be constant. So the launch of the game, you know, and you could say it ad nauseum and it becomes cliche, but the launch of the game really is just the beginning of what we're trying to do.
Well, here's something that you might be able to talk about. Hopefully. The new maps coming out. Can you tell us anything about those?
That is...
Aside from the foliage. Aside from the foliage that you all are happy about.
Well, okay, yeah, so that is actually one of the only specific things that I can talk about. We are going to have some... actually, did something foliage-related happen today? I've been traveling most of the day.
They posted something about foliage.
Was there a foliage-related piece of content that came out today?
I saw a palm tree.
Something about trees. Well, okay, I don't know if I'm able to talk about it yet. I wanna like look it up to see if I'm able to talk about it. But yes, if you take a look at a lot of the screenshots of that kind of stuff, I mean the maps look considerably better. And having trees on the maps, I think, looks fantastic. As far as the specific maps that are being released in the near future, honestly, that's not something I've been briefed enough about to like talk about just yet. So I don't even know if I can talk about it. So I don't want to say something and then have the GM of our office call me in like 5 minutes and be like, "Dude, what are you doing?"
All right, then I've got another question that you can probably not answer. Yeah, I'll keep them coming. Me and Chris will keep them coming, and you can keep shooting them down. Clans, you know, everybody's excited about clans. I know we are. And we're tired of just playing with 3 and 2. Yeah, we're tired of 2 other people. So, is there anything you can kind of hint at, tell us about, as far as when they'll be coming, or if that's going to be with gold, or you know? We're implementing it.
I'm probably going to get in trouble for this one.
Uh-oh.
I'm giving too much information, man. I mean,
that's what we're here for.
We had one of the lead developers, Alex, on the Twitch, the Sail to TwitchCon stream, and it was Chris Stott and Alex that were talking about the game. And I think there's a really funny part where Alex said that one of the other developers had texted him and was like, "You're saying too much information." So they already said a little bit too much. It's coming in 2015 for sure. So that is something that's going to be happening. I cannot give a specific date on that or when that will be happening. But it will be coming this year. It will be something that you'll get to play around.
Game's going gold in 2015.
Oh God, no! Don't do it. Yeah. So and that again is something that, you know, and I think what's great about, again, having a long-term plan of attack for this thing is making sure that there's always fresh content coming up, that there's always, you know, ranked battles is something that I think is going to be huge. And, you know, when I look at the future of this game from my personal perspective and internally, you know, it's not reflective of what's going on internally. Who knows? I can't really talk about all that stuff, but this game feels like the perfect MOBA for me, and it feels like a game that, you know, when you really do present it in the right light to an esports audience, it's something that would be incredibly exciting to play and watch and experience.
Oh yeah.
And that's something that obviously, having the community out there evangelizing it and bringing a new audience in is something that is going to help that along. But that's one of the things I'm most excited for in 2016 is rolling this game out to, oh God, the puns. Oh, that's just a side note really quickly, man. Wargaming and puns, it's like the most adorably obnoxious thing on the planet. People cannot help themselves with puns. Like, I just said roll out, and it's like every time, man, every time. Like, dude, every t-shirt, we've got like the tank top t-shirts. We got the ship happens t-shirts. I got 4 community-made t-shirts that we're wearing for PAX that I can't even talk about until tomorrow. And they all have like pun related stuff, or some of them have pun related stuff on there. So it's just like it's pun overload, man, at Wargaming. But yeah, 2016 I think I'm so excited to roll out this game to the larger community and the larger audience in video games.
That says a lot. Says a lot. I've got an easy one for you. And this you can answer any way you want. If you could add one thing, any crazy thing, right now, what would you add?
Ooh, good question, man. I mean, there. So the thing is that that was coming into this. That was one thing that you always have those things that you want to see out of a developer, or how you would approach things, or how you would put things together. And honestly, a few of those things that I thought, man, it would be really cool if we did this. They were like, hey, we're already have plans to do this. So that's something that hopefully that'll whet everybody's appetites, as a teaser of some of the more out there stuff that we will be throwing out there over the next couple of months. Very, very excited about some of the stuff that we're doing. But if it could be done, I think underwater and submarines would change the dynamic of the game completely. It would I mean, right.
If you look at how submarines operated in World War II, it would not jive with the play style of the game.
Exactly. Well, I mean, dude, like the submarines, you got a submarine's top speed is like what, 9 knots, like 7 knots. So
and they spent 90% of their time at the surface. I mean, I don't.
You would have to take such and again, then you're talking about depth charges. You're talking about so many more dimensions to the game. My grand vision of, like, as a fan of wargaming, what I would love to see happen is crossing over all of this stuff. I mean, like, I'm looking at a wargaming notebook that we use internally, and the artwork on it is just a bunch of tanks rolling out. You got battleships in the background, planes flying over, and I'm like, man, this is the magnum opus of a game that I would like to play. Cool. But you talk about balancing and stuff like that. Like, man, it's hard enough to balance a game like Warships, but then when you're factoring in all that other stuff in there, then everything has to be focused and balanced and changed. So, those are 2 really pie in the sky type of things. As far as stuff that I was like, wouldn't it be crazy if we did, I can't talk about this right now. And they were like, oh yeah, well, we're already in the process of doing that. That's stuff that is really interesting. But again, I think one of the really coolest things is that walking in and coming into this position, a lot of, like, feedback has already been going to the developers from the community, and they've been using a lot of that stuff to inform the content and some of the cool stuff that they're going to be releasing. So for me, it was almost, to be able to just kind of walk into that position and help facilitate that and help, make that process even better, is really exciting. But the devs are definitely listening to a lot of the stuff that's being talked about in the community.
All right, I've got a question that keeps popping up right now for accelerated commander training. And I guess I can see the point there, because, after you get to around Tier 3, it kind of slows down a lot. So,
definitely.
Can you say anything about that, or are there any plans for that, or has that been looked at?
I don't think that's something that we have plans for. I mean, I absolutely could be wrong. It's one of those things that, with the dev team being where they are and us being where we are, a lot of times it's just a matter of asking a question with stuff. Like, watching the Sail the TwitchCon stream, there was even a few points that I was like, man, that's kind of cool. I didn't know we were doing that. So, that's a question that, I will definitely write down and add to our Feedback Friday stuff that I'm getting over to the developers and get like an actual direct answer on. But to the best of my knowledge, I don't know if that's something that's been planned just yet.
Okay.
Someone was asking. Someone was asking what I was drinking. Real quick, it's a just to plug this. It's a local microbrewery near where I live in Williamsburg, Virginia. Ale Works. It's their Jubilee Ale aged in rum casks.
IPA?
No, it's an ale. It's a pretty heavy ale at that. I'm kind of feeling pretty good from it. So it's probably
say, what's the ABV?
I'm going to say probably right around 13 or 14. So it's
pretty,
yeah. I like stout. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah, that is a heavy.
You can see my cheeks have turned red throughout the entire podcast. I think they started off with a nice little rose color, and now it's just beet red. So. Yeah,
that is the Yamato of beers.
Yeah, there you go. The Yamato
brings the thunder.
Tier 10. Yeah.
So how about? Go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, just a quick question about like how. I'm sure this is a super basic answer and obvious, but just for people like myself who aren't aware, where's the best place to give feedback on the game? Like just spam your personal Twitter until you get sick of it, or?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, yeah, you just
Meathead,
my
right?
My phone number's on the forum. Yes, yes. Let me give out Meathead Militia's number over this podcast, and then just send all your stuff to him. I guess carrier pigeons, that works well. So on the message boards, and you can find it in the announcement section, we're going to be doing weekly things that I'm calling Feedback Fridays. And essentially every Friday, we've started with kind of a Feedback Friday 0 that we have up there right now, and that's just to gather all of the community's questions. Then what I do is I put that into what's called a smart sheet. Some of you guys may be familiar with that. It's almost like a Google document. And then I send that over to the developers, and it's basically they fill in the stuff that they can talk about. They tell me what I can say about it and when I can say it. And then I try to get as much, or will be getting that information back to the community, so that every single Friday, even though we may not be able to answer every single one of these questions, just like you guys have seen on this podcast, there's some stuff I can talk about, there's some stuff I can't talk about. We'll at least be able to get you guys an answer on that kind of stuff. So right. For me, from my perspective, I know that transparency is a word that is thrown around like ad nauseum at this point, but it's one of those things where it's like, for me, just like the questions that you guys have asked tonight, like I always want to be able to give you an answer, even if the answer is I don't know. Let me get back to you and find a better answer. Because that's something where it's just like, when I have the information, I can give the information. It's always going to you guys first.
Here's a question that's come up, and I know this is a question that's been asked for weeks and probably months at this point. Balancing, especially destroyer balancing in the mid to higher tiers. Can you kind of allude to anything going on with that? I know you're starting with the Minakaze in this coming patch, but are there any plans to kind of buff the higher tiers, or are the developers happy where it's at right now?
I can say that balancing is something that is happening constantly. I don't imagine that we'll ever reach a point in the game where we'll say this is a fully balanced product. And every single time that I think that we get to a point where the product is really balanced and the game is really balanced, we always want to continue to push the envelope of the stuff that we can do and continue to figure out how we can add dimensions to the game that add to, the depth of it, so to speak. God, these puns, oh my God. So I think that, yeah, I mean, with that, like, again, without talking specifics on a lot of this stuff, it is one of those things where the developers are constantly listening to the community on that stuff. And I don't think that they're married to any one particular thing. So I think that if there ever, is a really big groundswell for stuff to be changed in any component of the game, then they are really open to doing that and putting that together. And, that's one of the things where, like, I can't remember what it's called, the ship that had 40 torpedo slots on it that was in alpha and then completely gone. I can't remember what it's called. But they took it out because it was so hard to use and so hard to maneuver. And I think that they're going to retool it and bring it back, because a lot of people really miss that ship, myself included. I've only seen it in videos, and I want to play with it myself. But yeah, I mean, I think that, again, the devs are not married to any specific thing. They're willing to always constantly change things as the community is interested in that kind of stuff.
What ship did you say? The Kitakami?
I believe it. Yes, is the Kitakami.
Yeah, it's not a game if someone doesn't get team killed by a Kitakami at least once.
Oh my god, dude! Yeah, that does not seem like a good one for beginners.
No, well, I think I actually read somewhere. I forget who said it, but the reason the Kitakami is no longer in there is because the devs went through the stats and there were more team kills than
actual kills. Yep,
that's awesome.
Yep.
Yeah, that is awesome.
So, and that's something that, that's the other thing that I really appreciate there is they could have just said, hey, this is not a ship that's going in this game, but they took it back to the drawing board rather than scrapping it completely. And I think that that's something that is really cool because, again, the question about favorite ships is thrown around constantly, and this is the type of game where it is a fighter, almost like a fighting game, where it's like that's your character, like that's your identity in so many ways in this game. So I think that they have a lot of respect for people that play and fall in love with one particular ship and are really passionate about that ship, staying the way that it is, or getting a buff or stuff like that. So that dialogue is constantly open to change those things.
Here's a good question right here, and this kind of a two-front question, because there's a lot of mods out there, and a lot of good ones that are kind of not harmful. They just change the gunfire and everything else. I think one of them does, though, give the top-down view, which I think can be an advantage at long range, but that's not necessarily cheating. Are you seeing cheating, and how is that handled right now? Do you see it as a big issue, and what are your feelings on that and mods?
It's both of those things are front of mind, and that's stuff that from internal, or I guess rather from forum perspectives, that's stuff that is, when it's off the game, offline, so to speak. That's stuff that's kind of in my purview. When it's in game, that's stuff that is all handled, in different spots than where my job description lies. That
Right.
being said, I do know that is one of the number one things that is being addressed right now. One of our other main community managers, Nix, you probably know. She's 100% diligent on that and has been working on that for a while. When you talk about like team killing and all the policies behind that, that's something that we're working on solidifying and moving forward with. So yeah, for me, when you see communities at the ground floor and what makes a successful community and what makes a not so successful community, or sometimes a more negative community, the foundation that you build on and the philosophy that you set is the most important thing. So I think that that's very well understood by everyone at Wargaming, which again is really exciting that they're not resting on their laurels with a lot of that stuff. They're making sure that they're taking care of that and making sure that the gameplay experience is the best that it can possibly be.
Cool. That's important, especially when we're talking about esports, as we did earlier.
Yeah.
God, I love your Canadian accent so much.
Yeah, what's up?
Yeah, actually, we're talking about Canadian ships earlier, and if there are any of note, and I can't think of any at all.
Not. I'll tell you, as the former expert on Canada right now, there's not any of note. Don't worry about it.
Canadian ships would sail behind all the other ships and just give a good job. Like they'd be like, "You guys got it. You're doing well."
We did a lot of escorting
with their floppy heads and square propellers and everything.
Oh my gosh, I've got a good Canada story. When I used to work for IGN, my roommate is a guy who writes for IGN still. His name's Mitch Dyer, and he's a Canadian. And it's like when we moved in together, it was like a competition for who could be nicer. It was like, "Oh, I'll buy groceries," and he's like, "No, I'll buy groceries." And I'm like, "Oh, well, at least I'm making dinner." And he's like, "Well, I'll make some poutine." So. Also, I got hooked on poutine. Yeah. Oh my god, it's like the best thing ever, legitimately.
So what coming up in World of Warships that we haven't thought of or maybe mentioned that you know that you can actually tell us about? Exciting things, hopefully.
Yeah, I got an exciting thing.
Scoop time.
Yeah. Club Wargaming is something that obviously is done with World of Tanks and is done with World of Planes. When I came in and they kind of pitched the idea of what Club Wargaming is and sort of like how it would apply to warships, Wargaming has been tremendous about letting every different property handle itself in its own way and have its own identity and personality and voice and all that kind of stuff. So I really want to blow it out and with what we're doing with Club Wargaming for Warships and really make something that's really, really cool. And I love being able to kind of champion that and create it, because then I don't have to worry about non-disclosure agreements. I can just be like, yeah, this is what we're doing, and like tell you guys, like I don't have to go to anybody for approval on that kind of stuff, which is great. So I can talk about all things Club Wargaming, and that's what I'm going to do. We are taking applications right now for Club Wargaming. Essentially what Club Wargaming is, to give you guys the elevator pitch, is these are all of our super community members, the ones that go above and beyond for stuff, the ones that we love to highlight, whether you are creating guides or creating wikis or broadcasting, streaming, doing a podcast like this, any of that kind of stuff. That's the stuff that we love and we want to highlight. So Club Wargaming is sort of that kind of club where people can come in and do that. So the way that we're doing it is we're essentially going to do it like classes, like class of October, class of November, class of, I legitimately was like, what comes after November? I've been traveling so much. And so every class will have like an induction thing. We haven't settled on an exact number for each class, but the numbers are going to start pretty small. So I think the first batch of Club Wargaming members we're going to have in will probably be 12. And then we might continue to bump that up as the months go by. Some of the great things about Club Wargaming for Warships that are going to be put into place is essentially a tiering system, almost like what you would see in the game. So right now it will start at 3 different tiers. So depending on what you do or your contributions, you'll have the ability to go up in tiers. The higher in tiers you go, the more exclusive content, free stuff, all that kind of stuff that we're going to hook you up with. Secondarily to that, even if you're inducted and you want to do just kind of the tier 1 level stuff, we're still going to ship you awesome care packages every couple of months. We haven't set the cadence 100% yet, but we're going to be doing a lot of that stuff. Additionally to that, there's a few things that I haven't got 100% approval on, but are being thrown around. And I think that a lot of that stuff, without spoiling directly what it is going to be, will be featuring the names of the people that are Club Wargaming members for Warships in the game. And without talking 100%, I'm sure you can connect the dots on how that would happen conceivably. But that is one of the biggest things that I want to do is actually put the names of every single Club Wargaming member into the game. And without telling you how that happens, I'm sure you can kind of pick together and piece together how that would go about happening. So we're picking people right now. Applications are on the forums. If you go to the any section you click in on the forums where you see the forum rules stuff, it's pinned as an announcement, so you can see it there. You just shoot me a little bit of information about yourself. I'll get you into the application process. And then I think, let me look at my calendar and make sure I'm not giving the wrong date on this one. The first class is going to be announced on September 4th. So a week from tomorrow is when the announcement for the first class of Club Wargaming members is going to be.
Super cool.
So yeah, I hope that was a bunch of cool information. And then the other big thing, we're going to do a lot more. I can't promise daily just yet, but we're going to do a lot more contests on the forums that have in-game ties. Different events and daily events in game. That's something that, while I have a say in and can help drive and champion, it's not necessarily something that I have 100% control of. What I do have 100% control of is making sure that we're doing a lot of that stuff on the forums, and making sure that we're, not just doing it on the forums, but expanding it out to other spaces as well. So as we start to close out the year and these next couple of months, there's going to be a lot of major stuff going on.
Very, very nice.
All soon, TM.
yeah, TM soon. how are we doing on these raffles? How much more we got to give away?
Good. We're on the fourth one. Fourth one is live.
We're only on the fourth?
Well, we're going to save the rest for after, right?
You got to speed it up.
Yeah. So TwitchCon's coming up.
Yeah.
You guys have a big event going. Sail to TwitchCon.